Get Rich Slow with John Wolf. Hey, today I'm going to talk about comparing buying to renting. And there is a lot in this discussion that usually gets left out. So I'm going to go through some of the really big points. Now, according to this Oregon Live, which is part of the Oregonian article, rents in Portland are increasing at about 5% a year. And I think that's assuming that the rent that you are paying is up to market rent. In the state of Oregon, the maximum rent increase is basically 10%. Just so you know. So let's compare the economics of buying and renting. And the biggest thing that's missing from a lot of the discussions just up front is credit score. So I'm going to do all of this assuming that you're watching my channel. If you don't have great credit, that you have reached out to me and I've explained to you how that you can personally get there to great credit. Anyways, let's go through some numbers here. So first of all, just starting out, if you're going to be buying a home, most people are going to have to put 5% down. And in the Portland metro area, if you want a decently nice house to raise a family in, you're going to be looking at something in the $500,000 range. Now, there's plenty from $350,000 to $450,000, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to kind of make these numbers fair. And 5% of that is $25,000, which is really hard for a lot of people to save up. So that's probably the biggest single impediment. If that's your problem and you have the option, if you're not a veteran or don't qualify for any of the other special programs I've talked about on my channel, just about everybody qualifies for zero down in Washington. But anyways, let's assume you're putting that 5% down because that's about the right down payment for most people. This calculator didn't have a place to put mortgage insurance, so I sort of rolled the mortgage insurance into today's interest rates. And the closing costs, a normal closing cost number in the Portland metro is sort of $5,000 to $10,000 in this price range. So that's why I have it at there. Property taxes, normal for Portland, if it's wasn't built recently, is 1%. About 1.5% is about the highest I've ever seen. Homeowners insurance, that's what I pay, $720 a month. Maintenance costs, I figured in about $2,500 a year. The home value appreciation for the Portland metro is actually 6.5%. Not for the Portland metro. The Portland metro is a way higher number. The 30-year rolling average for the state of Oregon is 6.5%. Insurance costs will increase over time, as will taxes. So I have that in there. And then closing costs when you go to sell the house at the end will probably be around 6%. Now, renting, if you were renting a comparable rental unit or a house, it would actually probably be more than $2,200. But I'm not an expert in that. According to that Oregon Live article, the average rent increase is 5%. You should always have renter's insurance if you're renting. It's super cheap and covers a lot. There would be a deposit, I'm sure, and there's usually an application fee, but in the scheme of this math, it's no big deal. And then this calculator behind the scenes tries to show you the tax advantages of buying a home. I don't think that this exactly tracks, but let's hit go and see about what it gets us. So it's basically saying you'd be better off buying a house if you're going to stay there at least 1 year. Now, that basically isn't true. Now, here is where we get into the real discussion. So there is a freedom difference between owning a home and renting. When you want to sell a home, if you need to move, you're either going to have to find a renter to help you take over that payment and then manage that, or you're going to have to sell it. There are going to be costs, headaches, and difficulties involved with that. Let's just be real. Now, let's say you had the same amount of money and you're going to be sticking around for a while, especially a long while. How much would that $500,000 home be worth if the average home appreciation increases over time? So you get this whopping crazy number. In 30 years, at 6.5% appreciation, that home would be worth $3.3 million. Now let's just walk it back to 10 years. Okay, it would be worth double. Is that consistent with what's happened? Yeah, totally. Could that very likely continue? Yeah, totally. Now let's just say instead of putting that money into a down payment, let's say that you just invested it in a good, reliable growth stock mutual fund, something that's getting a solid 8% interest, which would not be a bad. And, the closing costs and everything for the home were really more than this. So, because you're, not renting. So instead of it being $25,000, you had about that $5,000 closing cost. So let's be fair, that's $30,000. So $30,000. And we'll look at after 30 years as well. Rate of return 6%. Additional contributions. We're going to say you're going to put in that $2,500 you were paying for maintenance in every year. And we get $585,000. That's a heck of a lot more than what you started with, but that's a heck of a lot less than the home. And the reason for that is for the home, you can put 5% down, and even though you only put 5% in that, $25,000, $30,000 initial investment, that entire $500,000 is appreciating up front. So let's be a little bit more fair. I mean, very few people actually put 20% down, but let's say you were comparing this math with putting 20% down. And then we did the same thing. Now you'd be up to $1.3 million. That's still a lot less than $3.3 million. Now imagine if instead of just doing this once, you bought a house, rented it, bought another house, rented it, and you repeat this math over and over again. That's how you get rich slow. Smash that like button, subscribe, and if you're interested in owning property, learning more, have questions, put it in the comments. Reach out to me if you want a home loan or a refinance. Have an awesome day. Bye.